everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tiff Talks Tech. Today, I'm excited because we're going to be talking about how I would audit a property marketing strategy in 30 minutes using ChatGPT. Now, one of the things that I felt like I was constantly getting asked working on the operator side is, what is wrong with this property? What are we doing wrong? How can we fix it? Even if it did not pertain to me at all. And half the time, we would find that it might be a training issue. And so we would go through this whole audit process. It would become the job of marketing to figure out what was going on. And now that we have ChatGPT, it shouldn't take us very long to do it. So if you had just 30 minutes to audit a property marketing strategy, here's what I suggest you do. Instead of weeks of deep dive consulting, we want just a quick, sharp, what's working and what's not review. So using tools like ChatGPT or whatever AI you prefer, here are some things that I think would be really helpful as you are diving into what's going on with your properties. I want to give you my actual framework, what I would look for, how I assess it, the exact prompts I'd use if I just had a quick time frame to do so. So before we even dive into ChatGPT or, again, whatever AI you prefer, here are some things you need to get ahead of time. First, you need the property's website URL. I will get their social media handles, any current or recent marketing campaigns / flyers, collateral, whatever you have. And then if I can get it, I would get the target renter persona or the resident profile that lives in that kind of community. This will give us a quick look at both the brand messaging and who it's supposed to be attracting, who we want to move in there. So here's where I would start. First, the property website. Like I said, you want to get that. Obviously, you should have that as a marketer. But this is going to be like the front door. It's going to set the tone for everything. So here's the prompt that I would put into ChatGPT. I would say, act like a brand strategist, review the messaging on insert URL, and tell me, what do you think this is targeting? Not what, who do you think this is targeting? What emotional tone are they using? Does the content align with what a prospective renter would care about for this community? I am really here. I'm looking for gaps between intent and the actual execution on the website. Like, are we trying to attract young professionals, but we're leading with family-friendly photos? Is the tone trying to be luxury, but the actual property is a budget property? That might be a mismatch or red flag that we need to look into. Here's a little tip as well. Even if ChatGPT can't access your site directly, I will copy and paste the homepage content and let it analyze it that way. So there's always a workaround, even if it can't do it right off the bat. Then I'm going to go ahead and do a social media scan. I will check out their socials. I'll ask ChatGPT, here are 10 captions from this apartment community's Instagram or Facebook account. What do you notice about the tone, audience targeting, and engagement strategy? I'm asking here, do the posts feel resident focused or do they feel like filler content? Are they call to actions or is it just a happy random day at the property? Does the tone feel consistent with the brand that we're trying to put out? Here's another bonus. I'll also ask what types of posts would perform better for this kind of audience based on current trends and best practices in apartment marketing. That will give me some fast, smart ideas I can bring back to the team or use to redirect a struggling strategy. And that's what we can do on our end. Again, there are so many things that are out of our control where it feels like they might not have the best reputation management, and that's something you can note in your audit. They might not be getting the best reviews, but what are the things that I can control as a marketer? Those are things that I would, if I could go back, I would have probably taken it on that way instead of saying, well, it's not my fault. This is what the leasing team needs to do better, XYZ. I would focus on me as a marketer and where can I improve the property? And then the operations team can take it from there. If there's anything else, like you may notice that and you could definitely call it out, but I would take more of the approach and focusing on marketing. And that way you can stop being held accountable for things that are not in your control and not really in your wheelhouse. The next thing I would look at is a quick brand audit. So I would ask ChatGPT, based on this property's website and socials, Describe the visual identity. Does it feel consistent and professional? What message does it send about pricing or quality? And again, I'm watching for brand confusion. If the website looks modern, but the Instagram is giving 2015 Canva, that inconsistency, it can hurt trust. And on top of that, if you do have trouble with it scanning your website or your socials, etc., you can always upload files directly into ChatGPT. One thing to note with ChatGPT, it crawls the whole internet and it also crawls everything that you put into it. So be sure not to upload anything confidential. If it's on your socials, if it's on your website, it's already public. It's already scraping the internet for that. So that's fine. But if it comes to anything, like I said, confidential that you really shouldn't be putting out there, do not put it into ChatGPT because then it becomes public to the whole world. And you don't want that. So just being sure that when you are uploading anything that it is stuff that is already public. All right. So then next, I would step into the shoes of a renter. I'll go through the ILS listings, the contact form, is that working? If they have any kind of AI on the site, I go through and I interact with it to see if it's giving accurate information. There are deep fakes out there where if you are asking for information, it could just make up something to try to get you to rent at that community. So you want to make sure that all those guardrails are in place before getting too far down the process. And if you are seeing that happening, making sure that you figure out who your vendor is, who you can talk to, and how you can get support involved there as well. So in this instance, I would ask ChatGPT, act like a prospective renter. Based on the flow from ad to website inquiry, what works well and what is confusing. And this will help you find any friction points pretty quickly. Any kind of slow load times, unclear call to action, inconsistent contact info. These are things that will make renters bounce. They're not just going to say, oh, shoot, let me find another mode to communicate with you. No, they're probably going to move on. So we want to make sure that it's as frictionless as possible for them to contact us so that we can make that sale. I would also make sure that when you are testing this, any contact forms, again, test them, test that your bots are pushing through the correct information in the workflows that you require. I know I've talked about this before, but I've tested AI and we have had instances where the AI was not integrating correctly. And all the leads that we were getting that were supposed to go to the community were just getting lost in the wild. And so we had to stop that test. Of course, this was a while back and it was a company that's no longer around, but that instance was really hurtful to our bottom line because we were losing so many leads. So you just want to make sure periodically that you're checking these things and that everything, again, that you have control of, you are able to audit and make sure you fix. So finally, here's the last thing I would insert into ChatGPT. I would have it summarize the top strengths and weaknesses of this property's marketing strategy based on all the information that I've shared. Give me 3 practical recommendations and improve it. This becomes a starting point for either a conversation with your on-site team, a kickoff for a rebrand, or a guide for just building better campaigns going forward. And you can work with your vendor partners on this. So you can give them some of the insights that you found. Hey, we found that our pay-per-click strategy might be lacking a little bit. Here's what I think we should focus on. Here's some keywords we want to make sure that we're hitting on our advertising. Making sure that you are aware of where your marketing is falling short will give you the guidebooks to improving it. And it's okay. I mean, nothing is perfect. We're always tweaking the strategy to make it better and make it work for us. So this is something I would do on a regular basis. Again, I know a lot of times there are marketing professionals that they're over so many properties and it's hard to do this on a regular basis. But I remember it was on the operator side, it was properties who were under a certain percentage occupancy. Those are the ones where we would go, hey, what's going on? What can we fix here? And so it always start there. And it would always be when a regional was scrambling to try to figure out how they can fix things. So that is kind of the point where we would jump in. Now, if you really want to get proactive, I would look at that ahead of time and making sure that you're pulling that when you can and having those real conversations. I would also find that sometimes when I would do these audits, I would send them to the regional and then hear crickets back. And so that is probably another point. I know as millennials, we don't love to do this as much. And I am kind of calling myself out here too, but you have to set up a call. You have to set up like FaceTime to go over this stuff and really get your point across because regional managers and property teams, they're all so busy. It's like half the time we're running around like a chicken with our head cut off. And we have to make sure that we are communicating thoroughly. And I think a lot of the times that really is that face to face or verbal communication rather than just shooting off an email, which is the easy route. And that's what I always love to do is I'm checking something off my checklist. I don't have to go the extra mile, but really I think it does warrant that, especially if it is a struggling community. So here's some final thoughts. I mean, the key here is not just using ChatGPT. You really need to know what to feed it and what to put into it so that it will work for you and help make things so much quicker. I wish that this was a tool that I had when I was on the property management side because it would have made auditing properties so much easier. A couple other bonuses that I would always look at, and again, this is a long time ago, so it may or may not be relevant for you, but it is stuff that I would always look at. I would, again, check out socials. I would check out their training. We used Grace Hill. I loved it. I could see what classes were overdue, and sometimes it was maybe closing techniques that needed to be brushed up on or other things. So I would look at things outside my wheelhouse. Again, it may or may not be helpful because it may kind of put it back on you when it is an area that is not yours to take on, but it could be very eye opening as well. So just making sure you're communicating effectively if you are going outside of your area to find any pitfalls. If you can give ChatGPT the context and your goals very clearly, it can help you fast track to improvement and really help you zero in on where you need to improve. So the next time someone asks you, can you take a quick look at our marketing? Can you help us audit it? What's going on? Now you've got the playbook. You've got the tools at your fingertips to be able to do that easily, effectively, and in 30 minutes or less. So that's it for this episode of Tiff Talks Tech. I know this was a short one, but I hope you find it helpful. Just these little snippets of information to help you go out and tackle the world of multifamily marketing.